What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast, because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host, as always. My name is Jimmy, and as we start off every episode, that's with gratitude. Just want to say thank you to everyone who supports any and everything that we do. Special shout out to all the students at By the Hood University, which is still growing like crazy. Information is flowing, and we just have a good time in there, man. I got my partner in crime, Core, with me as always. What's up, Core?
You know, every day above ground is a good day. No complaints, man. I'm living, so I'm good.
Listen, this is a very, 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 very special episode because we highlight brothers and sisters doing positive work. This is like a family reunion. For those that watch what we do, we are part of the Black Wealth Project team, which consists of 6 folks. But we have 2 of our family members with us this evening. We have the Ivy investor, the blue check legend, as well as the finance rebel, Camari Ellis. So this will be a fun episode because we talk every week. But I think this is a relevant episode because it is tax season. I know everybody's enjoying their stimmies right now, but it's also tax season. And they have an amazing event coming up tomorrow, which is unlocking the tax code for Black entrepreneurs. So we have a lot of Black entrepreneurs that watch our show and enjoy our content. And I know that this will be available as live, but even if they can't catch it live, they can get access to you guys as well as your information. So first off, thank you. Thank you guys for, joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And Camari, I just want to say thank you for wearing, your By the Hood hat as you show up. You got one. I ain't even got mine on.
Well, I think I'm at least in y'all top 5, at least as appearances goes.
Yeah,
this will be my 3rd appearance.
So
I had to wear it. I had to wear it.
This is your 3rd. This is Courtney's 2nd. The only other person that's been on as much as you is probably Malik. That's it. Who's another member of the Black Wealth Project. And,
right.
So that's what it is, man. But listen, we're here to talk about you guys today and this amazing event and course that you guys are putting together. There's always a debate that goes back and forth on the Black Wealth Project. And for those who've never watched the Black Wealth Project, but who watch By the Hood, please subscribe to the Black Wealth Project on Facebook as well as YouTube. Every Sunday, we have a roundtable discussion. It's us 4, as well as Tracy, real estate Tracy, that is, a real estate legend, and as well as real estate coach Carter. So we have a discussion every Sunday. But this is a debate about who loves taxes more, Courtney or Camari, because you guys are both tax professionals in your own right. So I'm going to start this interview off by asking you guys, who loves taxes more?
Courtney.
No.
She's even admitted it. She's admitted it. And she did it like in a whole shady way. She was trying to put me down, and she did it too. That's why I was so thorough.
Wait, what?
No, I think what she said was, you take more enjoyment out of it. It's something she said, though. She said, I take more enjoyment out of it, but he talks about it more. That's what she said. She said, you talk about it more, but she enjoys it more.
I think so. I think that's fair.
I think the one thing we both can agree upon is, as she elegantly said on y'all show, that the tax code is a cheat code. And we both agree with that.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So it comes to this actual live is about Black entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And I asked both you guys, I said, whoever answers first, in your experience with Black entrepreneurs, what is it about it that they're missing? What's the biggest thing they're missing when it comes to the tax code?
The playbook. Really playbook, because they're showing up to a football game trying to hit a home run.
Ooh.
And it's unfortunate because, we're the best people that exist in the world. Okay. But sometimes we just kind of lose our way because we just don't have the playbook. And, I've noticed that a lot of people have tried to bend the rules without actually knowing the rule that they're bending or trying to break. And then they end up like Wesley Snipes and Lauryn Hill in jail for tax evasion. So we want to not everybody goes to jail for tax evasion, but I think it's really important that we get in front of it as opposed to getting behind it.
Okay. Now, Camari, I have a question for you that, I'll start with you, but Courtney, you could jump in with this too. And I never asked you guys this before, and I was reading an article today that actually prompted this question. Do you think the tax code is inherently has racism built into it?
I just read that article yesterday.
Oh, you read the article too? Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's funny, right? Before I would say no. But when I was reading the article and looking at some of the court cases that actually formed the tax code, which Courtney could probably speak to a lot better than I could because she's actually a tax attorney. But when you look at it, it's definitely geared towards whiteness. And so when Courtney says folks ain't showing up with the playbook, they ain't even been to practice to get the playbook because, we're behind centuries and decades behind of what was actually been planned for quite some time.
Okay. So if for those who don't know, actually, it wasn't the New York Times, it was Bloomberg. And it was an article speaking to Dorothy Brown, who's a law professor. And, she documents that there's the tax system that's supposedly colorblind has some racist parts are built into it. So just check the article out if you guys have it. It's on Bloomberg. But Courtney,
can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
When you talk about the whole marriage credit, basically the marriage filing status, it's interesting that many of our households were forced into single mother households due to the drugs or the war on black people, aka the war on drugs, right? That took a lot of the black men out of home. When you look at welfare, that took a lot of the black men out of the home. And so you have to wonder,
then they gave tax breaks for it. Then they give you tax breaks for it.
Exactly. And so the single moms get hit hard, but the married couples get the bigger benefit. Yeah. That's some insidious stuff.
It really is. It's like it's really evil. When you start to read it and look at the court cases and things like you said, it's like it's diabolical almost. Courtney, do you have an opinion on that though? I see you making faces over there.
So I'm listening because I actually didn't read the article, but I'm kind of going back because I actually do have a degree in tax law, and I'm going back in some of the cases, and I would say yes, but it's all through the because the tax code is built through the frame of whiteness. I think anything inherently that comes out of it, and this is laws too, it's going to be inherently racist. And we've talked about our friend who was the drug dealer in Minnesota. We talked about him before, and I think if he was a black man, he definitely, his name was Jeffrey. So
explain the story real quick, briefly, for the folks that never heard the story about Jeffrey in Minnesota.
Our friend Jeffrey, I felt like he was coming. So Jeff was a drug dealer in the 70s. Jeff was pushing. He had pills. What was it from Dr. What was it? He had Quaaludes. He had weed, and he has cocaine. And he had cocaine. So the feds caught up, and this is during the 70s. So this is after the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 was passed, which was the law that made marijuana, cocaine, all a Schedule I drug. So this is after that. So he gets caught up, and I think his real charge was like cocaine. It wasn't really weed, but either way. So the feds got him, and one of the things was that Jeff never reported his income from his illegal activities. So what happens a lot of times is that you have a criminal issue, you have a law, you broke some sort of law, some criminal law, but then on top of that, where they hit you with the double whammy, is they say, oh, you have money that you didn't report. And Section 61 of the tax code requires that all income from whatever source derived is taxable. So it's like, oh, you didn't pay your taxes. So guess what? We have some more fines for you. And we also probably can give you jail time. So that's the willful not completing a tax return and actually paying taxes. So that's what was going on with Jeff. So Jeff was like, oof, got to fix this real quick. So Jeff fixes his taxes. So he basically files them late. So he does get this late penalty. And then, but he actually, his attorney or whoever prepares his taxes deducts all his business expenses when it comes to his drug deal. So he deducts the scale. He deducts his travel to San Diego. He deducts his all his long distance calls. So this is 70s. So those joints were expensive.
Yeah.
His long distance calls. He actually took the home office deduction, because clearly where else would he be running his drug business from? So all of these deductions, and the IRS commissioner was like, timeout, player, flag on the play. Flag on the play. What do you mean you're deducting your business expenses of a legal activity? Like, where they do that at? So Jeff was like, you didn't say that I couldn't. So that ruling was appealed to the tax court. And so it was appealed to the tax court. The tax court said, listen, there's nothing in the rules that says that Mr. Edmondson, which was his last name, couldn't make all these deductions. And the only deduction that they did not allow was the deduction of meals in San Diego. And they said, you don't have receipts to substantiate them. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting in the court opinion is that we believe Mr. Edmondson. We believe that he's telling the truth. And that was a white man, that was a drug dealer. I don't think a black man or a black woman or any person of color for that matter, black or brown, would have gotten the same treatment and the same love that Mr. Edmondson did.
Not in 100 million years.
That's a crazy story, but what's also interesting about that story is like understanding the game and playing the game, right? This is why you said the tax code is a cheat code. When you actually understand the game, you can play it. Jeffrey even had the audacity to play it at that level. So wherever you are, Jeffrey, man, kudos to you. That's very interesting, and it's an interesting piece of history that I don't know if a lot of people know of. But man, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad you guys answered that question though, because I was thinking about you guys when I read that article, and I'll send it to you, Courtney, once we finish here, so you can read it. Because I think it was a very powerful article. But I know you guys deal with a lot of small businesses as well as individuals, but I have to ask this question because it's a hot topic right now. We are in tax season. Cryptocurrency. Do you guys get a lot of questions about crypto and taxes? Because I know I do. I'm not a tax professional. I'm a crypto guy, but I don't really like to talk taxes. Do you guys get a lot of those questions?
I think Martin gets them more than I do.
I get a lot of questions because I've been talking about it a lot. Corey, a.k.a. our brother over there, has hailed me the Bitcoin hater many, many years ago.
Because you're a hater.
I ain't hating. I just call it out as I see it. But people don't realize that the IRS are definitely hot on the trail of those Bitcoin lovers, crypto lovers who are not reporting their income. Basically after Coinbase got busted, they have all the records now. And so they have added a question onto all tax reporting forms. And many of us are not checking the box. Now, I even forgot to check the box, right? Because I forgot. Corey will tell you again, I brought like a really small share crypto.
Yeah, enough to troll. That's what you were doing.
It was a test. It was research, right? But I brought like $45 worth of crypto over on Bitcoin. I totally forgot about it. And I didn't check the box. So I've been reminding people to check the box. Just make sure you check the box. Because if you just look at the government's history and the way they love to lay traps, right? Clearly, this is a trap, and we need to be able to sidestep this landmine and keep it moving. And so, a lot of people got attention in crypto and Bitcoin because of Silk Road, all the drug dealings that happened on, the hitmen that happened on. So it got a really, really bad name. And so now the IRS is the arm of Congress. Remember, Congress directs the IRS. And so now they got that box on there, and they're trying to see who's going to be forthcoming and say, hey, I own crypto, I own Bitcoin, and who won't. And that'll tell them who they can start targeting and going after.
Yeah, but my question is, I thought the ownership of it isn't a taxable event.
It's not a taxable
event.
Oh,
they want to know that you own it. They don't care whether or not.
Does the box say own or trade? Because those are two different things.
So it says both. It says sell, buy, or own. Right. So it's two components. So they ask the question. They want to know who's got it. Who's got the crypto? You also, the IRS in 2014 deemed Bitcoin and crypto an asset. So you also have to pay tax on any gains that you have from crypto. Now, the good part about it is if you lose, let's say, over $3,000 on your crypto transactions, you could also write that off. And a lot of people don't realize that because they want to keep all this stuff undercover.
But are those realized gains? Are those realized gains, or is it treated similar to a tax in that I don't have it if I don't sell the asset?
No, for a realized gain, it has to be realized gain.
Okay, all right. So that answers a lot of questions for me. Courtney, you had any?
Just to be clear, crypto is treated just like stock, just like real estate. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as long as I'm I'm holding, so I don't care what they do, what they want to do. But Courtney, you had any opinion on that?
Yeah. Well, see, the IRS, a lot of people don't realize that the IRS puts your tax return together. based on, because every financial institution has the obligation to report to the IRS. That's why every time you open a bank account, they need your social. Every time you do pretty much any financial transaction, they want your social for the purpose of reporting to the IRS, because if a financial institution doesn't report to the IRS, they get fined. So the IRS basically creates a tax return based on the information that they have. And if your stuff doesn't match what they have, that's how they go, oh, let me call up Mr. John Smith. John Smith, we see that you have a problem here. You gonna rectify it or not? So I think a lot of people feel like they can sidestep and kind of ignore that question. Like, how would the IRS know? Well, the IRS hit up Coinbase and was like, run us your stuff. You be blessed. And they did. And so now that information is available to the IRS. So they're going to be checking their records to say who was naughty and who was nice, who told us they had it and who didn't. So that's something else that a lot of people need to think of and remember.
But yeah, the first time when the IRS hit them, they only hit them, I think, and then this was in 2017 for anybody who had over $20,000 in transactions.
Yep.
So they had a barrier, but now they're like, look, shoot them as 1099 if they did anything, like literally anything. So I got 1099s for buying. I had bought some on Cash App, and I moved it from Cash App into my private, and Cash App sent me a damn 1099.
But again, that's not a taxable transaction.
It's not, but they sent me a 1099.
All right. Courtney, I think that's a great point you make. Just to step back real quick, is that in general, when it comes to tax, like, so when your job gives you a W-2 or a 1099, like they send the document to the IRS as well. All your bank accounts send the document to you and the IRS as well. So they're going to put your entire, return together, and you're going to put it together, and they're going to see where it matches and where it doesn't match. I think that's a great piece of information. I don't know if a lot of folks even know that's how it works.
Yeah, for the most part, the only thing that would be missing out of that is cash transactions. A lot of times, cash transactions don't get counted in, but I tell people all the time, you ain't that slick and the IRS ain't that dumb, because they will figure it out. They can look at your lifestyle. They can see what you do. So if you have an all cash business and they see how you live, they'll say, oh, this guy isn't reporting. He's got a Benz. He's got a Bentley. He's got such and such. And they will figure out whether you are reporting or underreporting or not. And you can get in trouble for that. It can be very costly.
Understand that when you in the gram acting a damn fool, that they watching. Those
people got all year by flexing on the gram. I mean, I think a lot of people forget that. Like, you so busy trying to show everybody what you got. You're showing everyone what you got.
Jimmy, just to kind of talk about that point again, right? Operation Hidden Treasure, what the IRS is doing now with all the crypto transactions.
That's what it's called. It's called Operation Hidden Treasure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're using AI to sift through public records and IRS records to see who's lying and who's not, who's reporting and who's not. So it's getting real. And with the ability of AI, it's going to expand beyond federal documents to other public documents. So
hold on, slow down. I want you to repeat that again, because I think that's important. You said that. So there's an operation called Operation Hidden Treasure.
Yes, where the IRS is using AI, artificial intelligence, right? The robots are here, Skynet's here, right? And they're sifting through all IRS documents to see where the transactions don't line up to what they're reporting. Very similar to what Courtney just said, right? Because there's other times where people may ask for forgiveness. You have to turn in a financial statement. There's other times where you might be asking for to change a tax return with an amendment, and they're seeing if the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And when there's not alignment, they're going to be coming at the folks. Listen, CI or criminal investigation, the cases are up over 40% this year alone. And the IRS has been hiring. So it's not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game.
Wow. That data, that statistic is crazy.
3%. They was already hot on people trail. And the thing about it is they attack poor people because it's easier. They don't have to spend as much time or money to do it. So if you ain't listen, pay them folks, man.
But I think
from somebody who had trouble with the folks, pay them folks.
With the folks. But I think that's a good point, Corey. There's actually a lot of different down south when you start looking at the areas that are audited the most, they're predominantly Black. And so again, is the tax code inherently racist? The document itself is, like I said, is through whiteness, but even the enforcement isn't inherently racist. Because again, to Corey's point, is that they're going to go after poor people because poor people are low hanging fruit. They don't want to. I mean, they've been fighting with 45 for the last 10 years over a deduction he took years ago. For 10 years, they've been fighting.
And that ties up their resources. So
And they've been fighting. They were fighting with Michael Jackson's estate, I think, for 11 years about the valuation of his likeness. So they have, they don't have that many people to really dig in on that work. So they're saying, listen, I'll go hit up these people because it's just easier work. And you're just like, for real, like that's what we're going to do.
Listen, when you break it down that way, that they get all those documents and they actually piece it together themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So if you try to be slick and you don't submit something or you miss something, they'll hit you up and say, hey, you forgot something because we got it, so you forgot it. But I can without even asking this question, I pretty much know the answer. But if you make a mistake in their favor, do they say anything then?
No.
I'm just saying. Like,
well, to be fair, sometimes they will let you know. They will let you know if a document got reported, and let's say you had a loss in some stocks, you didn't report it. They will sometimes let you know, but not always. Not always.
I mean, for you guys watching the video, Courtney is making a face right now as he says these things.
Because Camari's not wrong. I mean, every so often they will do it, but that's not. I mean, I used to enforce taxes. Like I literally enforce taxes, and if I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, and it's not. And you can't always. And that's the other thing. You can't always. You don't. The government is strapped for resources. You can't always reach out to everybody and say, "Hey, Mr. Smith, read your return. Hey, you calculated line 52 wrong." We just don't have the time. So
that's a good point though, because sometimes it doesn't have to be malicious. I mean, you have other poor people to go after, so you don't have time to tell them. For real? I'm just messing with you. No, but that's interesting. Taxes are actually interesting. When you break it down this way, right? Because most people, when they think of taxes, well, it depends upon who you talk to. Because I remember at one point when I first got into the workforce, I would look forward to tax time. These days, I actually despise tax time. So I guess it depends upon who you talk to. I'm poor.
I'm taxes if you get money.
Hey, listen, man, I'm broke, baby.
I'm poor.
I'm broke, baby. I
don't even have the OR. I'm just poor.
So
Mitch is in the house.
So let me ask you guys this question. Getting back to your actual event and this course that you guys are putting together, what can the people look forward to, right? So if I'm a business owner and I know nothing about taxes at all, other than I take my shoebox full of receipts and dump it off to my person, what can I look forward to learning from you guys? Event.
Well, I'm excited that somebody has a shoebox of receipts because a lot of people
it makes me itch.
They don't have receipts, and they're like, "I wrote this. I can write all these things off." I'm like, "But where's your proof, though? Where is your where's your proof, baby? Where is it?"
What's the best practice for that, though? Right? I'm gonna get back to the question of what they can expect. But what's the best
can I tell you what my accountant makes us do? We have to send our receipts in monthly.
Mm-hmm. That's
so we have to send our receipts in monthly, and she actually asks us to pay quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's smart.
Yep. That's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to pay quarterly. Like if you are going to have a after a year, you actually have a amount you have to pay every quarter because the IRS is like, run us our money. We're not playing with you. And they'll penalize you for not paying quarterly taxes. But I think that's a great practice that Corey's account has, is that you're submitting your receipts every month. I use QuickBooks. I think QuickBooks is very helpful because you're able to kind of categorize what you're doing. I also I'm trying to get away from receipts. If I really am, I'm trying. Like, and what I mean by that is kind of taking a picture, sending it away, and throwing away the actual receipt. Because again, you lose receipts. I can't tell you where what I did with my receipt from January 2020.
No, I scan mine. I definitely scan mine. I have a small scanner. But
so that's Jimmy. The best practice actually is to get a program like what Courtney talked about, a QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. You take pictures of your receipts because the IRS, if you were ever audited, they don't really care about your bank statements. They want to see what the receipt is, right? The other thing is people don't realize, because I do get people that come in with a box of receipts. Many times they're faded, right? And so if you keep these receipts, that ink that they use, it fades sometimes after a month. So the best thing to do is take a picture, use your app, get it in line with your apps, and then can connect it with the actual transaction that you're working on. That's the best practice. And what I suggest people do with their estimated taxes, because like Courtney said, you will get a fine. I tell people, because a lot of people can't manage money, don't pay it quarterly, pay it monthly. Break it down monthly, get the money out of your hand so you can stay out of trouble and don't get a big tax bill at the end of the year.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If you're someone that has this is a question for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you have like multiple LLCs because you're in real estate or something, right? Do you have to get one of those accounts for each LLC, or could you just get like one account with one of those softwares and just separate it that way? Like, how's that?
It depends. You can break, like with a QuickBooks, you can separate by class. But sometimes it actually makes sense to have, depending on how heavy you're doing it, it depends to have a different account, multiple QuickBooks accounts to do it, because when you're looking at your balance sheet, you're going to have different entries for different properties you may own, different loans you may have. And you really don't want to commingle that, especially when you're going to the bank. The finance, you want to be able to give them a quick P&L, a quick balance sheet, and keep it pushing. Because a lot of times when people get this hard money, or when people just get conventional finance and they're doing a deal, a lot of times the banks want updated financials every year when you're doing these things. So sometimes people get a little cheap with the dollar. You know, they'll spend on some bubbly, but they won't spend on the software that will help them make their transactions easier and their wealth accumulation journey a lot easiver. But you got to think about that. Definitely got to think about it.
Because it sounds to me like, as Courtney always says, the tax code, the cheat code, but it also sounds like if you're organized, it can help you in business in general.
Listen,
applying for things.
If you're not organized, you could never, ever leverage the tax code. It won't happen. You'll miss out on it. Just like with the receipts you just mentioned, Jimmy, I can't tell you, again, how many people come. Do you know how many deductions people miss out on because they don't report their or keep a good organization and categorization of their receipts and their transactions? I mean, people commingling funds between multiple accounts and they don't know where's what and who's who. Oh man,
listen, I you're giving away some amazing advice right there. Like, you can't even take advantage of the tax code if you're not organized. That's a bar right there. But it's crazy because I know you're not talking to me, but I feel like you're talking to me. And I think I do a pretty good job. Like, I scan all my receipts, I got my spreadsheets and all that, but I do feel like I probably could do better. And hearing you say that, because being able to just run it, because I do everything at, honestly, one time. I don't do it monthly or quarterly, so I think that's actually something I should probably try to implement. Doing it more frequent.
But here's the thing: we've been trained to do that, right? We only think about taxes during tax season, but to really leverage the tax code, like everybody was running around talking about Donald Trump and the 750, right? But he's sitting down with his people monthly, weekly, often. Anybody who's really about that bread is sitting down with their advisors, whether it be an accountant, attorney, whoever it may be, at least monthly. And they're going over stuff and they're planning stuff and they're implementing stuff throughout the year. They're not just waiting until tax season. Listen, if you wait till tax season to try to get a tax plan, you wait late. You behind the 8 ball, baby.
Yeah.
See, that's something you said on our show when you came on the show. That's something you said, which is if you don't have a tax plan, you don't have a wealth plan. And so that's something you said when you came on our show, and you said if you don't have a tax plan, you don't have a wealth plan. And then Courtney said the tax code is the cheat code. So y'all in alignment, like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Listen, we argue like cats and dogs, but the one thing again we agree on is that get your taxes together, get your ish together. Because again, if you don't do it, you ain't gonna win. It's impossible. It's impossible.
You can't win at the highest level.
Right. That's correct. Because I'll be honest, there are some people who we all know who are in the under economy, the unreported economy. They're doing all right, but they'll never be able to perform at the highest levels.
Yeah, and I think that's important to say because what you were talking about is like, scaling your business to a certain level. The one thing I thought about when you said organization is the people that actually have businesses, have employees that couldn't take advantage of any of these programs during COVID because they just weren't organized. And they didn't have their paperwork. Because I've talked to people that says, well, I have these employees, I have this business, but I don't have my paperwork right. So they couldn't apply for PPP or whatever those, different programs are.
Yeah, I Yeah, you're making me itch again, Jimmy. So last year was a crazy year for me. I can't tell you how many times I help people get PPP loans or the EIDL loans, and the common theme was nobody was organized because everybody thinks it's just about getting money, right? But they never think about the rules to the game to getting money, like my man said in Baby Boy. Like, it's rules of this thing, and they weren't ready, right? They weren't ready to take advantage of what the government has. And a lot of times we complain, and I'm with them when we say, well, the government ain't ish. And they don't do this and they don't do that. But a lot of times we ain't got our ish together to go apply and get it done. Every Black business owner that I know that had their ish together that applied for PPP got PPP, period. And so a lot said, oh, well, it's unfair to many folks. And listen, y'all know I'll talk about the history all day long, but some of it we got to take accountability for and recognize that we're missing out on the bigger thing by not having our stuff together.
Man, more bars. So that leads me to my question I had asked. What can entrepreneurs expect from your course or your class that they when they show up on Thursday? Like if they don't know anything about taxes, but they have their business and they just as this whole conversation started, they take their shoebox to their folks every year. What can they look to learn? What can they take away from what you guys are teaching?
So the very first thing is knowing the difference between a sole proprietorship, between an LLC, and an S corp and a C corp.
Okay, so you're going after LLC Twitter is what I hear.
We are. We're
we start from the basics.
Yeah, because we have to start from the basics. I can talk about tax strategies and tax planning and understanding like the difference between all the different the things that you can do as a business entity in terms of write-offs. But you have to know what entity you have and the rationale that you have it for, because each entity, some of the entities have different tax implications. So that's another conversation to have. But people kind of put the cart before the horse. So we got to kind of break it down to the basics, start from the beginning, and then work our way up.
Great. And I'm going to give you your flowers while you're on here, Courtney, in front of our audience, because I had a consultation. This is what happens when you have smart friends. You sneak consultations when you just have it. You're shooting the talk. You get free consultations. I do it with Camari all the time too. But Courtney put me down with some game this year and helped me set up a specific vehicle for myself. It's a self-directed Raw 401k, but it's a game changer for me because even someone who's been in the finance space for the amount of time that I've been in, I had no idea how that vehicle worked. Once I found out, it's been a game changer. Because even for those that have followed us, with our trading, I'm getting all kinds of gains in that account, man. In the future, this looks bright. Now that I have that account set up and I know how to do what I know how to do and combine that. So, Courtney, I'm gonna give you your flowers and say that thank you, because I had no idea about that vehicle. So I can vouch for that.
But Jimmy, tell them that the gains that you're getting in that account, it grows tax free.
Yes.
You ain't got to pull no tax out on it when you get past 70.5.
Listen, man. And if I wanted to tap into it beforehand, I can borrow. I'm not gonna try to sell the product. All I'll say is make sure you guys get the course from Courtney and Camari, because I can vouch personally how it's changed my entire strategy of now I'm cooking within this account and I just smile and smile and smile because now I know the power of that vehicle. So thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome.
So come on, I'm not gonna leave you out too, man. Thank you too, bro. Like me and Corey have held you on here, like picking your brain about specific things too. But I just had to give Courtney her flowers.
But listen, I tell people all day long, right? One of the biggest tax advantages you can get is your retirement plan. Yeah. And Courtney was 1,000% right with that. Give her flowers. Give her flowers.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's not that I didn't know to do that. I was just using the wrong vehicle, right? So I was in my SEP and she said, well, this is more powerful. And I'm like, well, tell me how. But once she explained it and I figured it out, once she explained it and I figured it out, I'm off to the races. So, I already know that you guys are going to give a lot of information within your course because I pick you guys' brain every week. Like that's the cheat code right there. The cheat code is to get some smart friends, you. Listen, folks watching, the
ultimate cheat code.
For the folks watching, another cheat code for you is get you some smart friends. That's the ultimate cheat code. So listen, I don't want to keep you guys. I know you guys' time is valuable. You got to go argue with some more folks about taxes and other places. But the last question I have, and again, for the folks who don't know, we talk about business, finance, and everything every week. But I have to ask you guys, have you changed your mind yet and considered that Thriller is better than Off the Wall?
No.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Hey, what are you talking about, Jim?
I mean, I gotta bring this up, right? So for the folks that don't know, we have this ongoing debate because the only time I can get Courtney and Camari to agree is about taxes, and they both think that Off the Wall is better than Thriller. So if you're listening to this on a podcast or you're watching this live, I want you to shoot us a message on the social media, or shoot one of them a message on social media, or leave a comment in the YouTube section. Do you like Off the Wall or Thriller better? I need to know, and make sure you at IB Investor and at the Finance Rebel.
I need to jump on this though. If you want an 8-hour, 9-hour, 10-hour drive, road trip, which one would you rather listen to?
You know, it's funny, right? So
Off the Wall.
And again,
sorry.
And again, my brother Dev, who I've been having this debate with for 30 years, he actually had a debate today again, like, well, not even online, just like on the phone. And here's how it started. We were talking about Coming to America.
Okay.
And an analogy was, listen, I like Trading Places better, but I do recognize that Coming to America is probably Eddie Murphy's, like, you know, magnum opus. And I said, you know, when you think about all of his films, that's probably his film that's going to stand out above the rest, right? Now,
I can't. Ooh, okay, go ahead. I don't
right, but here's how the analogy came about. I said, you probably could say the same for Thriller, though. Like, even if you like Off the Wall better, you can admit that Thriller is his magnum opus. No, not that it's dope. It's the album that he's most known for.
Okay, yeah, it's the album he's most known for, but we're talking about the doper music between the two albums.
But there's a difference between favorite and greatest. We're not going to turn this into another 20 minutes. I just want the folks know to watch it. At this last question, I had to ask while we're on our platform, because we argue about this kind of stuff on the Black Wealth Project all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so anything you guys want to say to the audience before you get out of here? What would you like to leave our audience with? You know, you two geniuses in terms of taxes.
Well, I get excited. We have the STEMI was passed. There's a lot of interesting changes for taxes, even for 2020 that was passed in that bill. So we're going to be wading through it. I think I heard that it was over 600 pages.
Oh my God.
I'm going to watch a webinar about it, and the things that are applicable to my people, I'm going to pay attention to. I'm going to read. Everything else, I'm going to just have to skim over. And that's the same thing with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that happened in 2017. It was just so voluminous. I was like, I can't even, like, what applies to my people? I was just skimming for the stuff that applies to my people, because otherwise you'll be in there forever. And the thing that makes it so funny is when a lot of these tax laws are made, they actually haven't worked them out because they're trying to do them in such a rush that they actually haven't walked through every possible scenario. And they usually do that in the regs, but the regs, that's why it takes like the regs 2 years to come out, because it takes a long time to walk through all the scenarios. So there's usually a loophole or 2 or 3 or 4 in some of these newer tax laws because they just weren't able to address all of them. So again, it's the tax code is a cheat code, but you have to pay attention to the other stuff that's going on too, because there may be some, like, what we'll call Easter eggs in there too.
That's amazing. When they do these legislations, they always sneak things in there. Like, there's a gold mine if someone could just like go through the legislations as they come out and just like you know, put together like the relevant topics for specific groups. Almost like you guys remember Matthew Lesko? He used to do infomercials where he would walk around with the suit.
The college dude, right?
Well, that was one part of it. His whole thing was he would take all these different grant programs that are around the world and he just organized them. He didn't create anything. He just organized them and made millions and millions of dollars just organizing. If you could organize the actual bills that are passed, because like you said, it's 600 pages. The only thing that most people know is like, yo, where's my STEMI? Where's my STEMI and what's going on with unemployment and all? Yeah, that's all people care about. But there's all kinds of stuff that we have no idea that's being passed with that legislation. That's crazy.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and they all, you know, we talk about pork. That's what pork is. Like, they'll stick some stuff in there, and you're just like, well, what does that have to do with anything? And that's what they were also talking about. I think the Republicans considered it pork. They were trying to change the minimum wage in this particular bill, but they considered that like, well, what does that have to do with this and all that other stuff? But it was really interesting because that happens all the time, is that things will get passed in something and you will have no idea that's even in there because it's buried in like page 347 of the code. And you're just, I mean, of the new, because a lot of times they'll do strikeouts. So they'll say, you know, section blah, blah, blah is amended to read. Blah. So I remember having to open up my tax book, go and say like, okay, this says this section is taken out. I would actually cross it out and then try to read it as it was amended by the law. And I'm like, who who did this? Who did this? And you're looking around and you're like, nobody can help you because like you're one of the first people getting at the bill and getting into the bill. It's crazy. And taxes, I think the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, is the most elegant document written in the United States. I do.
That might have been the nerdiest sentence I've ever heard in my life.
Ever.
Just that one sentence. Just that one sentence by itself. That's an amazing reel for IG. That might be the most nerdiest thing I've ever heard in my life. But no, let me ask you this question too, because you write legislation, Courtney. Like that's something that you do.
I do.
Why do you guys do that? Like, what is wrong with you guys? You guys are sick. Because even as I was looking up the Raw 401k, as you making me aware of it, I was looking up like how it came to be where it was. A lot of that stuff was snuck in.
It was stuck in one of the Bush plans. It was the Bush plan of 2001, but there was a 5-year kind of like time period for companies to get it together. So I was actually working at Merrill Lynch when it came out. So it was done in the 2001 bill. It wasn't supposed to start until January 1st, 2006. But interesting enough that no one really realized it, but it was for the reasons that we kind of talk about when we're talking about the Roth IRA, because the Roth IRA has a limit about how much money you can make. And at the time it was like, the mid 100,000s. I mean, we'll say like maybe 120, 115, somewhere around there. But honestly, even just having these conversations amongst us, that's when you really have the opportunity to really max out that particular vehicle. And you start getting maxed out and they're like, oh no, you make too much money. So a lot of people are like, yo, that's crazy. So they added the Raw 401k where there is no income limit. And it just kind of opened up the world for everybody who made money and was like, I want to put additional money away.
Yeah. And when I looked it up, because when you first told me, I was like, why did I know this? So I started looking it up and I'm like, well, they've been sneaking small parts, because even with the Secures Act, they made changes to it, like to make it the vehicle that it is now. They've been sneaking this through in the pork, so to speak. Like, so just be careful out there. So Camari, I'm gonna end with you, good brother. What would you like the folks to know about, taxes or your course?
So I would like them to know that one, this is a masterclass series. So this is just one class, the beginning class of a whole myriad of classes. So again, this first class is about business structures, right? And we are really looking to help Black entrepreneurs unlock the tax code, because again, we see a lot of people get it wrong. I'm on the ground fighting with everyday business owners all the time. And I see people that have formed LLCs or corporations and don't know when their filing requirement is. And guess what? If you don't file on time, you get penalized. And so I'm hoping to help people stop wasting money on stuff like this and just kind of do it right. There's levels to it and people don't understand that. Everybody wants to kind of jump through to the top level, to the top rung. Sometimes you got to start from the bottom. You got to start from the mud and move it up. And that's okay, because it's amazing when you build a strong foundation, what you can do and how fast you can move up. And people that truly understand the tax code are able to achieve wealth much greater than anybody else who does not. Again, if you look at all the great dynastic wealth families, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, their wealth comes from the tax code because they know how to leverage it. Now, I don't want to give anybody any illusions, right? You got to do some work for it. You got to build up to it. But they were able to build up to it because they set themselves up with a good foundation. And they understood the rules, so they knew how to bend the rule and then potentially how to break the rule. But they had to understand the rule first.
Great point.
That's what I would want everybody to know. That's what you're going to learn there. You're not just going to learn something from some people who have never worked in tax. Between Courtney and I, we've got almost 50 years in tax work between the two of us.
Nice. You guys should have named this course, Be Careful Following LLC Twitter. That's what it sounds like you guys are trying.
Don't forget the hashtag. We should have the hashtag.
I didn't know you can start it now.
That's amazing.
Hashtag Be Careful Following LLC Twitter. Court, before we get out of here, good brother, you got any questions for our brother and sister before we get up out of here, man?
The only question I have is if it's a masterclass series and you guys are doing it, whatever time frame y'all doing it in. When they buy the course, are they getting the whole course and then y'all are breaking down pieces of the course, or are y'all going to drop different pieces of the course as y'all go along?
So is it multiple courses?
Yes, definitely multiple courses.
Okay.
multiple. So you would just kind of pay as you go.
Gotcha.
Probably at the end of the year, we'll probably bundle them all up.
Okay. So what are some of the other, if you don't know yet, that's okay, but just a couple of the other topics that you'll be discussing?
Hiring your kids.
Oh, that's a whole course. Oh, I've seen those
Yeah.
memes too. I've seen those memes. You know, put $1 million away in your kid's name and you pay him a salary. You know, you pay him a salary as like an engineer. Although they're like picking
7 years old. You got a 7-year-old engineering kid?
I literally got asked that question today during the console. Guy's got a couple of businesses. He's doing all right. He's got a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And he's like, can I hire my kids? I said, do they actually work?
Yeah,
Right.
to do what?
Right, because I said they actually have to do a job, and you actually have to pay them market rate for their job. But let's go with minimum wage, which is $7.75. In order to pay your 6-year-old, let's say minimum wage $1,000 a month, how many hours would they have to work? And it was like about 100 hours. I said, what 6-year-old you know is going to sit down for 20 hours a week, 20 hours plus a week, and do a job? When you find them, enroll them in Harvard. Matter of fact, enroll them in Howard, right? The real HBCU, the real H, and get them in a genius program because they are extraterrestrial.
Hold on. So basically, you're saying the memes got it wrong? That's
All
not what
the
the memes say, man. That's not what the memes say.
Listen, man. You know, if the meme did it, it's right?
That's right. That's right. Oh man, good question though, Corey. That's a good question, man. So listen, I just want to thank you guys again. You know it's love as always. Make sure you guys go follow Courtney, go follow Camari, follow our project that we work with together, the Black Wealth Project, because we have these conversations. You know, a lot more slanderous, but it's actually, you know, we have fun every Sunday. We actually got to talk tax with you guys this time, which is amazing, right? And I know you guys both love it, you know. So with that being said, make sure to follow them, follow everything that they got going on. Check out the course. Please check out the course and support what they got going on. And don't forget, let us know, are you a Thriller fan or an off-the-wall fan from Michael Jackson? Because that's important to know, and make sure you at them. But thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Absolutely. Anytime. Listen, and for the folks out there, as we always say, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we shall see you guys on the next episode. Peace.